All right, you guys. So this is kind of what I was talking about in the live, and I wanted to go through this. I thought this was pretty good. I was going to send it to Rich B and Tanner and stuff, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to make a little video on it, talking about some of the cafe standards. And well, we think, oh, Mr. Trump's rolling stuff back. Well, you're going to see. I don't know.
Main bearing failure. I think we're going to see more of this in the future. And there's something else that was lurking recently, the cafe changes by Trump. It actually is going to affect trucks a lot and in a negative way. And here's why I think this is actually going to get worse. So what they're doing is they're removing the EV credit and they're removing the ability for manufacturers to use electric vehicles in their mile per gallon calculations. So before they would say an EV would give them 200 miles per gallon or 300 miles per gallon. And then they would get to use that to offset all of these trucks that we drive. Like my truck gets, 19 miles per gallon or whatever it is. So now moving forward, all these manufacturers, in order to hit even the rolled back figure that Trump has, it's like 34 miles per gallon in 2031. In order to hit that number, now they have to hit it without electric vehicles being counted with the mile per gallon rating. Before,
I never even knew this kind of stuff existed. You know what I mean? It's just a moving of the cups. That's what it feels like. Just moving the cups around.
You could totally fudge it with EVs. You could have like 10 or 15% of your fleet be EVs, and then you could buy credits back and it offset your trucks. That's why they were allowed to just run all these big trucks with like V8s at 15, 20 miles per gallon, or these twin turbocharged engines.
So I guess in a nutshell, maybe Rusty better be buying the trucks now before they change the stuff.
At 15 miles per gallon. And it doesn't matter because the EVs are offsetting that. Well, now the EVs are removed from that. The credit's gone. What manufacturers are going to have to do, they're going to have to make everything like a hybrid powertrain. So now we're going to see, I think, they're going to have to reduce power a little bit, reduce displacement, or they're going to have to do what? Add hybrids and batteries. So all of these trucks are going to have to get much more complex in order to achieve 34 miles per gallon average across the company for light duty. I think this is actually going to make the cafe standards even worse for trucks, because they're removing the EVs and they're not allowed to use the EVs in the calculations. I'll put links to this in the description and you guys can go read for yourself. I don't think any of these manufacturers are really going to step back from CAFE standards. And they also probably believe that the Trump administration might be out. If it swaps back and the pendulum swings back to Democrat-driven politics, they're not going to just throw away their billions of dollars of investments and all of these things. They're going to move forward with the same garbage we've always had. So I don't think this is going to get better. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Love to hear your thoughts.
Well, unfortunately, that's kind of what I was thinking as well. I was assuming that they're not going to just throw stuff away. They got too much stuff pushed forward to a certain way. Like I said, I'm starting to really believe it doesn't matter what side you're on. It's just we're all going down this road. Sometimes we take a detour. We get a pit stop. We get to stop at the gas station, right? But we're all going down the same highway, down the same funnel. And look, I'm not real happy to hear about this, but let's check out this next clip. And they kind of talk about the stuff I always tell you about being an adult and how can they even do this to you? How can they lie to you like this? I guess I never realized, can you hit the pause button? All right, bear with me for a second here. But anywho, I'm just really disappointed in this whole system. So that's a bummer to hear that they might not come out with anything better. It might just keep being kind of the same garbage. You know what I'm saying? So this guy has some pretty cool cat talking about the Allison. And I guess, it's one of those things. I don't know. I tell you what, I ain't gonna be buying no new Chevy. I like my Chevys, right? I like the older Chevys, but probably anything 2007 or older. It makes sense. It's funny how every time it's always just one of these crashes that things seem to take another dive down, right? Like they talked about in that, and I'll try to put the links below for these. So if you want to watch the full episodes of them, which I do recommend. But anytime we hit a crash, I had this feeling 2019 wasn't going to be good. So, I had that just gut feeling that when that stuff, I thought this is going to stir the pot. This can't be good. And I think there's some people that are starting to come out with the same idea. All right, let's see if I can get this.
So we're going to start making our own transmissions in-house, right? So General Motors designed a transmission, and I guess let me just look at this real quick. I think they co-developed it with Ford, all right, to basically design their own in-house transmissions, which that would have been the 10L1000. That was the transmission they designed in 2020. And basically at that point, they said to Allison, the only thing we want from you guys is we don't want to lose the branding we got with the Allison transmission, hence why you have the Allison transmission badging on all the current GM trucks. Well, the only thing Allison does with these transmissions is General Motors makes the transmission.
Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it.
Can you imagine though? Can you imagine? Like, I mean, isn't this false advertising? I mean, don't you guys ever feel like you're kind of being lied to, manipulated? It kind of reminds me of like when we used to have to put stickers on that said Pella, right? And Pella never made a garage door in their existence. They only make windows. But we were supposed to, through AMAR, put a sticker on that said Pella, even though it said little AMAR in the bottom. But it's like they get away with that. But we're supposed to call it a Pella door. That stuff really irks me.
Just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44.
And Allison basically looks over the design, says, hey, we approve. Allison checks and validates the design, and then General Motors is allowed the brand put Allison's badging on their transmission, even though Allison does not make that transmission, guys. So bottom line there, Allison, and part of this reason is Allison is they basically are prioritizing at this point. What they want to prioritize is an over-designed, over-engineered transmission that's made to put up with heavy abuse, right? And they're using these, like, their transmissions get used in tanks. They get used in, I mean, they're designing them in a lot of EV vehicles, but heavy-duty commercial-grade stuff, right? So you're talking like, I'm sure it's 18-wheelers. It's your commercial application, right? So commercial and defense, that's really where Allison's strong in. So needless to say, they're not super happy about the fact that General Motors is designing a lesser transmission than what Allison would design. And then basically, because of their agreement, Allison's having to put their stamp of approval on that transmission. All right, guys, if you enjoy watching this content, be sure to hit all General Motors.
I'm really glad though that Allison is doing that. They're stepping away. You know, I think this is just absolutely wrong, right? For quite a few years, I would have believed those were Allison transmissions. And from a lot of you Chevy guys, including my buddies, big mud runners, big truck guys, right? I mean, Allison was like bulletproof. That was like, made it to King Tuck. You know, I mean, it was just great.
Motors, or I should say any GM Chevy pickup truck, heavy duty, 2500, 3500, that has this badging on it, right? So all of the current trucks have that Allison transmission badging. So any of these trucks that are sold brand new, basically GM has until June 29th of 2026 to sell all of that inventory with the Allison.
Maybe they'll do some sales. I know Ford is, I think they're doing, what is it called? Not pre-qualified, but they're doing subprime. So basically people without the best credit. So Ford's really pushing right now to sell a lot of their inventory with subprime. Car loans is kind of what's the gimmick.
Allison badging, and whatever inventory is not sold by June 29th, they have to go and actually remove the Allison transmission badging, right? So they're going through that. I mean, it's really Allison's just at the point where they're like, we're done. You're not making something that's quality. We don't want to be a part of it. We want to go in our own direction, right? And you got to understand, this is huge because Allison's not doing this for free. They're getting paid large amounts of money by General Motors to do this. So it's not, you know, for the money, for them to say goodbye to the money, it's got to be a pretty significant thing. And from even what I've read and researched, guys, it's a result of people buying these Allison badged or branded transmissions in these GM trucks and not being happy with them and messaging into Allison saying, hey, what the heck are you doing? We're not like, this is not like, why are you guys doing this? We want an actual Allison transmission, right? Allison's saying, hey, we don't want to be a part of it anymore. there's enough pressure from the general public, I think, that they just got to the point where they're like, we're done. Right. So anyhow, guys.
So I'm glad. Hey, I'm glad at least Allison's doing that. You know, I just think it's wrong for how many years now, 10 years or whatever they said. He's got, I'll put the link of this one too below, that they were able to push this crap. I just, you know, and it drives me nuts because I feel like people will just buy this stuff because this thing looks cool. And then it's you don't know what you're dealing with. You might be dealing with a ticking time bomb. Not all of them, but it's just something I thought you guys should be aware of. Cause like I said, it's everywhere out there right now. And another guy's channel too, you should watch that one because he's talking about how they're having all these engine problems. He's got a list of what, you know, smaller displacement, tighter clearances, thinner oil. And that's also why these trucks and stuff and cars are just not lasting. So I couldn't agree more. So that's why it kind of gets me back to the 07 or 06 is always the area I like to be. The 2006 for some of those old Chevys. Those are pretty bulletproof. Transmission eventually is, you know, but they were, you know, at least you got your mileage 150, 200. Sometimes they're original if somebody took really good care of them, but they could do it. But some of the stuff now, boy, I don't know. All right, you guys let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys have a wonderful day or night. Keep the fingers. We'll see you in the next one. Hit the like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And thanks for watching.